Well. Microsoft is back at again, as you guys are all aware. If you're not aware, though, basically within the past few weeks here, Microsoft has been yet again pushing out some faulty, not really great updates to Windows 11, causing basically a myriad of issues, with for end users that are kind of coming, unexpectedly. First issue being, right, I'm sure you guys probably heard a lot about this by now, but basically, Microsoft, basically they pushed out their Windows 11 24 H2, standard like security update, right, that comes down like automatically through the Windows update, or maybe if you're like a sysadmin, you have to push it out or whatever, right? But basically, after this update, there was a lot of problems from end users that had basically Phison-based storage SSDs. Basically, what happened is the SSDs would just fail randomly, and this was happening for quite a lot of people. And with Microsoft, right, a lot of times the updates, just based on the nature of how it is, updates are configured to come down automatically, which is good. But some people, hey, we have more of a controlled environment. We don't want these updates coming down because it could affect production in some cases, right? So a lot of issues, a lot of people having problems with the, that update coming down and their solid state drives failing. But basically, the thing that made this situation really worse, and it's another classic Microsoft move, right? Microsoft is basically claiming that hey, there's we can't prove that this is happening, right? Based on our testing, we can't. There's no conclusion that this update is causing this issue in particular. While there's many people out there within the community, basically having this problem, and I've seen multiple people reproduce it, and within on real hardware. Now it's different, right? Maybe people at Microsoft are just using VMs or whatnot. I don't know what they're doing because it's probably all under like NDA. They probably can't talk about it, because it's all proprietary, right? But basically, the biggest issue here is like Microsoft is saying, hey, we can't produce it, basically, right? It's not actually related, there must be some other issue, blah, 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 which in my opinion is kind of complete BS because there's been evidence of this happening, and I can literally show you guys here. Basically, J2 Cents, he made a video. I watch him occasionally, but in here he's basically proving after he installs that update that that the SSD eventually begins to fail. And you can see here he's just kind of playing a game, and after he installed the update, kind of shows like there's some lag, and he's got a bunch of I guess what's it called, statistics and stuff about the system, and then error comes and he gets a blue screen of death right there. So he literally proved that it happened on actual like hardware, right? This isn't like a VM, or I mean, maybe it is, but I was watching the video very quickly here, but it looks like he has hardware right here. So I mean, unless he's faking it, and I doubt he would because he's pretty big audience, right? I don't know, like Microsoft is just blatantly lying here, as we can see, right? But it's also Phison and Microsoft saying that they cannot reproduce the issue. But who really knows these days? It's probably just them just not trying hard enough. Because they probably just threw on a VM. They're like, oh, can't see it. Not our problem. Blame it on the end user as per usual. But, and I say but with a statement, there's another problem that occurred this week as well. Basically, Microsoft has another Windows update that is causing basically issues when installing certain applications, or using certain applications, right? Microsoft, they're trying to be proactive, and there's a CVE out there basically that there was a privilege escalation vulnerability within the Windows like installer, right? So a lot of times when you install applications, you'll get like a little GUI pop up, that says, hey, do you want to run this? Put in your password, or run this as administrator. It's that's called the user account control prompt, right? Kind of on Linux, if you're doing that, it's like sudo, like put your password in. You got to elevate privileges, that kind of stuff, right? So they're putting in an update to kind of have that prompt occur more often, because as of right now, that prompt, if you've used Windows, it doesn't pop up as much as you think it should, right? With Linux, sudo comes up quite a bit, right? It's kind of like a nice secure layer when elevating the privilege. But so Microsoft put out an update to basically have this UAC prompt come up more often. But come to find out, a lot of, I guess you could say, like IT technicians, end users, people, right, when they're running certain commands, probably their day to day. I know when I was doing more of help desk stuff at my job, a lot of it was, using like obviously like this kind of command right here, like some repair commands, or even there's a command you can, I forget what it is, but you can like pull up all the certs on the machine and kind of do that kind of stuff. But it's causing basically a lot of UAC prompts to come up. And the issue with this is if you have like automation for this stuff, right? If you're deploying lots of PCs and let's say you have a script, right, when you're setting up a computer and a UAC prompt comes up, you can't really, I mean, you could try to script that, but if you don't know about it, it's going to cause issues. So basically it's kind of, hitting, end users head on, right? And I think they're saying here too that there's this UAC prompt is coming up like even when it shouldn't be for certain apps. Like there's basic apps where it shouldn't be coming up, but it seems like it's coming up for basically everything, right? And a lot of other problems as well. But when it comes down to it, this is just classic like Microsoft here. Basically, they push updates, they blame the end user, and they really no progress is done, right? And with this, it's not like you can easily roll back. I mean, you can, but then eventually, that update will be installed in the future. It's not like you can just, if you're on Linux, you can't just roll back to a version and stick there as easily. I mean, you can and take some tinkering, but at the end of the day, it's just a mess, and it's closed source, so you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, Microsoft can tell you all they want. They can say, "Hey, this is what happened," blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, will you really believe them? I don't know. That's up to you. That being said, if you had Linux, you could really go take a look at the source code and figure out what the problem is, right? At least that way, even if you don't know the code, right? If it's either C or whatever, you can, consult. You can probably consult like for example, like the Debian or Arch, distro email or the wiki, right? And you can ask them like, hey, what happened here? But with this Microsoft, you can't really do that. So we're just kind of the ball's in their court, and they're obviously doing a terrible job with it. But let me know what you guys think down below. I mean, this is just kind of like laughable, right? It's lies and deception. Oh, it's not our problem. We didn't do it. We can't reproduce it. But literally, as I showed you, there's video evidence of someone who is very reputable, in my opinion. 4 million subscribers. I know that's probably like not like a professional thing, but I mean, for me, that's a lot of people watching. But if someone with 4 million subscribers can reproduce that, that's pretty significant, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think down below. If you disagree with my opinion, that's fine. I'd love to hear it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.